Hey, welcome back to Pick'em, special bonus edition with Morley Stanwood advancing. They're the only prep game that we're looking at this week as they make the 7-hour bus trip up to Iron Mountain. Morley Stanwood with a huge win last week against Clare and a pretty dominating effort. The question is, Bob, how do you sustain that success against an Iron Mountain team that's clearly a pretty high caliber team in the state?
I think you have to do what you've done all year. Establish the run, mix in the pass, and kind of keep Iron Mountain off balance. They're a bigger team according to Coach Clark Hunty, so they're going to try to utilize that speed, their quickness, and just keep playing Mohawk football. If they do that, they're going to be in good shape.
Brandon, do you feel like the Mohawks have one more left in them after probably one of their more impressive efforts of the year last week against Clare?
It's going to take a lot for Morley Stanwood to play a very good game against Iron Mountain. They're going to have to continue what they're doing, like Bob said. They've got to dominate on the offensive side of the ball. They can put up points, but they can also play defense, as well as Iron Mountain can as well.
Bob, what can you tell us about Iron Mountain? What are we going to see from them in terms of maybe what they bring offensively, and who do you have winning this one?
Iron Mountain runs a version of the wing tee. It's not like Reed City, but they kind of have that basic formation. But they pass out of it a lot more. Clark Hunty called their quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but someone that you got to respect. He has a decent arm. Who I have winning this game? I picked Clare last week, and my son read me the Riot Act and pretty much guilted me that I better pick Morley Stanwood the rest of the way. So I'm picking Morley Stanwood, and I think this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Brandon, did you have any similar cases of being guilted into picking Morley Stanwood, or who do you got winning this week?
I don't have to make the 7-hour bus trip up there, but Iron Mountain is at home, and unfortunately I think Morley Stanwood's season comes to an end this week, but they can look back and be happy about it.
Morley Stanwood found itself in this position last year, and I think that's something that is clearly on a lot of these seniors' minds, that they came a step short last year, and I think they want to at least get past this game to go out with that as their legacy. I think that's a very important thing for them. I think that's going to mean a lot in this game. I think Morley Stanwood keeps it very close and actually pulls off what some people might consider an upset. I think that they will move on, though. Taking a look at college action this week, Ferris State also concludes its season with a home finale on Saturday, taking on a Northwood team that's struggled in GLIAC play this year. Ferris has struggled in the second half of the season. That's been well documented. I think they have a matchup this week that favors them a little bit, and they have played a lot better at home. Bob, how important is this for Ferris State to go out on a winning note for these seniors and everybody involved with the program?
I think there's a big difference going into the offseason being 6-5 or 5-6, and I think that's going to be the motivation that Ferris needs this week. Northwood has struggled, and especially on the road. I think Ferris wins this big, good send away the seniors with a winning note.
Brandon, obviously this season hasn't turned out the way that the Ferris program and a lot of the seniors had hoped for. Can you talk about the importance of a win for these seniors and what that would mean to them to end with a winning record?
I think it would mean a lot, especially after the hardships that they faced this second half of the season. Coming out ahead of Northwood, which they should easily do. I mean, Northwood's offense is pretty non-existent when it comes to playing in the GLIAC. However, for the seniors, it's going to mean a lot to win, but it's also going to mean a lot for the juniors and the underclassmen as well to actually have a good foundation heading into the off-season, getting into the workouts, and getting ready, really, for next year.
Yeah, you can say what you want about this Ferris State team and their record in the second half of the year. The thing is, they haven't quit. This is a team that has come to practice hard every week. I think you're going to see that against Northwood team that I think there's a little bit more talent on Ferris' side of the ball. They're going to, having this game at home is only going to help matters with that. I think Ferris wins big. Looking next, going to Big Ten action. Michigan on the road again this week against Illinois. Illinois, a team that started the year 6-0, has struggled since. Michigan's trying to get that win that really solidifies them as a top-tier Big Ten team. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. This is an interesting matchup, though I think two teams that are pretty close in terms of talent. Bob, who do you got winning this one this week, and does a victory for Michigan mean more for them in the future?
I don't think any win is more important than any other, with maybe the exception of Ohio State when they get them in a couple weeks. This is just a stepping stone for Michigan and Brady Hoke in the program, trying to turn the culture around. I think Michigan wins this barely. Illinois, I think, was exposed as a fraud when they lost to Purdue, of all teams. I think Michigan rolls this week, and I think you're also going to see Devin Gardner play a little more prominent role this week.
The question for Michigan hasn't been defensively, which a lot of people thought it would before the season, but offensively, Denard Robinson's really struggled at quarterback. How big of a factor, Brandon, is his performance going to be in Michigan getting a win, and who do you have winning this one?
Denard Robinson's performance this week has to be great. It can't be subpar. It can't be average. He has to come out and prove that he can rebuild after what happened in Iowa and lead his team, because it is his team, to a victory. It's going to be a tough game for them. I have them pulling it out.
Yeah, I agree. Michigan's offense is going to go as Denard Robinson goes. I think a lot of people would like to see him being a little bit more like the Denard Robinson of old, which is the one that runs the football. He tended to stay in the pocket in the loss to Iowa. I would expect that they're going to tailor the game plan to him a little bit more to get him back running, doing some of the things he's more comfortable with. I think Michigan actually wins this one by a couple touchdowns and starting to execute a little bit better on the offensive end. Michigan State is the next game we're looking at. They're going to be traveling to Iowa, a place where they have struggled in the past. This Spartan team controls its own fate, though. If they win out, they'll be headed to the Big Ten title game. Looking at this game on paper, Bob, I would think that Michigan State is probably a more talented team than Iowa, but you got to have some concerns based on how they have played on the road in the Big Ten in the last couple seasons.
Absolutely, and that's most of the reason for that is their quarterback Kirk Cousins. He has struggled on the road. They're 1-2 on the road this year. The one win this season was at Ohio State, and that was a 10-7 game, and he didn't look really good. I think Michigan State's success this week lies on his shoulders, and I think he gets it done, but I don't think it's going to be pretty either.
Brandon, we've seen a different Michigan State team in the last couple of weeks, the one that lost to Nebraska and barely took down Minnesota. And we've also seen the team that's beaten Michigan, Ohio State in recent weeks. Which team do we see this week? Who do you have winning this one?
I agree with Bob. The game totally relies on Kirk Cousins. But you're going into Iowa, and last week they came up and bit Michigan. So I am thinking Iowa and their fans are going to be really happy to see Michigan State come in, and hopefully Michigan State can pull it out, but I just don't see that happening. I think Iowa's going to nip them in the bud.
Yeah, I think last year Michigan State was really exposed on the road against Iowa. I don't think that's a game that they're going to forget. I think this is a different Michigan State team this year in that they can rely on their defense to keep them in games. And I think they'll do that against Iowa. I see them winning a close one here, but that's a toss-up game. I've got Michigan State winning by a touchdown. Last but certainly not least, we're taking a look at the Lions. They will be traveling on the road this week to Chicago. Really a chance for them to solidify their place as one of the top teams in the NFC if they were to get a win this week. Bob, give us an idea of what you would expect to see Detroit have to do well to get a win on the road against a rival.
I think it's all running game on both sides of the ball. The Lions defense has to stop Forte. Lions have demonstrated they've had struggled stopping the run. And on the flip side, they got to establish a running game and take some of that pressure off of Stafford, because if you're back there throwing every down, defenses are going to start taking licks, and Stafford doesn't have a good history of staying upright for the whole season yet. So, but the success of the Lions is going to come if they can stop the run or establish the run.
Detroit coming off a bye week. Brandon, does that help or hurt a team to be coming off a bye week because you get a chance to rest, but at the same time your timing might be a little off? And do you see that as a benefit for Detroit this week? Who do you got winning?
I think it's a benefit for Detroit, actually. Got some time, got a whole week to rest some guys, get some bruises healed. I think this week Detroit actually pulls it out. What's as impressive as Chicago's rushing game and Detroit's poor rushing defense is how horrendous Chicago's pass defense is. It's going to be a payday for Matt Stafford and Megatron this week. They can rush all they want, but Megatron's going to come out strong.
Yeah, this one is an interesting one to look at. I'm reluctant to pick Detroit in this one, but I'm going to simply based on I think that they're a better team. It is tough to win on the road in the NFL. I think I've got Detroit winning a tight one this week. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Pick'em. As always, make sure to visit BigRapidsNews.com for results from these games or check out the Monday edition of The Pioneer.